You're listening to the Sermon Podcast for the Peak Church, located in Apex, North Carolina. Our church is striving to welcome all who are feeling disconnected from God. And so our hope is that over the next several minutes, you will connect with the God that we are talking about, and you'll resonate deeply with the life that this God wants for you. We hope you enjoy.
The scripture passage is from the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 15, verses 13 through 24. When Samuel reached Saul, Saul greeted him, "The Lord bless you. I have done what the Lord said." "Then what," Samuel asked, "is this bleating of sheep in my ears and mooing of cattle I hear?" "They were taken from the Amalekites," Saul said, "because the troops spared the best sheep and cattle in order to sacrifice them to the Lord your God. The rest was placed under the ban." Samuel then said to Saul, "Enough, let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night." "Tell me," Saul replied. Samuel said, "Even if you think you are insignificant, aren't you the leader of Israel's tribes? The Lord anointed you king over Israel. The Lord sent you on a mission, instructing you, 'Go and put the sinful Amalekites under the ban. Fight against them until you've wiped them out.' Why didn't you obey the Lord? You did evil in the Lord's eyes when you tore into the plunder." "But I did obey the Lord," Saul protested to Samuel. "I went on the mission the Lord sent me on. I captured Agag, the Amalekite king, and I put the Amalekites under the ban. Yes, the troops took sheep and cattle from the plunder, the very best items placed under the ban, but in order to sacrifice them to the Lord your God at Gilgal." Then Samuel replied, "Does the Lord want entirely burned offerings and sacrifices as much as obedience to the Lord? Listen to this. Obeying is better than sacrificing. Paying attention is better than fat from rams. Because rebellion is as bad as the sin of divination. Arrogance is the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected what the Lord said, he has rejected you as king." Saul said to Samuel, "I have sinned because I disobeyed the Lord's command and your instructions. I was afraid of the troops and obeyed them. This is the word of God for us, the people of God. Thanks be to God."
During my junior year of college, I was named captain of our soccer team. And as my first act as captain, what I did to my coaches and to my fellow teammates was lie. I'll explain. When we arrived at preseason, the way it worked every year is in order to start a game, in order to actually and even play in that game, you had to pass a physical fitness test, known as the 5 in 7. I still get tremors just saying it out loud. But here's a diagram of a soccer field. It is 120 yards by 80 yards. And the test was you had to run 5 laps around that soccer field in 7 minutes. And so just so you know, that's about 1.25 miles in 7 minutes. So you're hauling, right? So the first day that we do this test, I make an internal decision. I am going to pass this daggum test. I'm going to do it on my first try, because the way it worked was if you didn't pass it, you had to run it again the next day, and the next day, and the next day until you actually passed it. But I was like, I'm the captain of the team, I'm the leader of this squad. I got to do it right here, right now. So the test begins. I'm running, I'm cruising, I'm feeling good. Chariots of Fire theme music is playing inside of my brain. I make it all the way to the final turn, so the final straightaway, and I can hear the team manager at the finish line calling out, 650, 651, 652. Start to get a little anxious and go a little bit faster. I'm pushing myself. I'm pushing, I'm going. Cross the finish line. And I hear him call out, 701. I've got a decision to make, okay? This is a Christian university, and so integrity meant something, apparently. And so the way it worked was the team manager would call out the times, then you were responsible. You were responsible for self-reporting your own time to the head coach. So that afternoon, I'm walking to his office, and I'm mulling my options. I'm like, dadgummit, like, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to go through that physical torture again. I also don't want to lose the respect of all of my teammates who are supposed to look to me as a model example. And in a moment of weakness, I crossed into his office. Kyle Meier, what's your time? 7 minutes on the dot, I said. Now, people knew, they were watching. Like my teammates who were running alongside me, they knew that I didn't get it. And so they started talking, got back to my coach. My coach pulls me in for a private meeting. He's like, you got to run this again. You and I both know you didn't quite do it. And I learned a lesson that day. I learned an incredible lesson. That if you have to deceive your way into earning people's respect, then you didn't have it to begin with. Today, we're continuing a conversation we've been in for the last several weeks. If you're just joining us for the first time, we've been in a sermon series called Influencers. All Lent long, these 40 days running up to Easter, we've been spending some time thinking about and reflecting upon what are the influencers in our lives? What are those voices, those small voices inside of us and external, outside of us that are influencing us? They're shaping us, they're forming us, they're impacting us, whether we're aware of it or not. And today, as we now transition back to our story for today, you're going to find that one of the most powerful influencers that is operating on us, around us, inside of us all the time is this temptation of dishonesty. Let's dig in. Today, we're going to return back to the book of 1 Samuel. Specifically, we're also going to return back to the story of Saul. If you were in worship last week, this is where we were last week, talking about the story of Saul. And if you don't know who Saul is the first ever king of the people of Israel. However, he has a really bad career as king. Makes a lot of mistakes. Has a lot of slip-ups. In fact, last week we talked about how one of the reasons why he made so many blunders is because he fell prey to the influencer of impulsivity. He's so impulsive. He's so reactive. And today, as we keep going in his story, we learn that another reason for his downfall is because he also fell into deceit and dishonesty. Now, some of you are thinking, Kyle, there was a lot going on in that story. Like, I kind of lost track. Where was his lie? Like, what was he actually lying about? And for the answer to that, we actually have to rewind all the way back to verse 3. Because verse 3, here's what we're told. Saul's got his troops. He's got his army. He's about to go into battle. And right before he goes, he gets a command from God. Go, attack the Amalekites, but put everything that belongs to them under the ban. Which means, the ban means spare no one, kill men, women, children, infants, oxen, sheep, camels, donkeys. Spoiler, he doesn't do this. He does keep some of that to himself. Now, we're going to come back to the story in a minute. I'm going to step over here for just a second for a brief timeout. Whenever we come across passages like these, we always feel a deep spiritual and pastoral responsibility to just take a beat and say, if and when you come across passages like these that raise really big moral, ethical questions, they cause you to go, what in the world? God commanded that? God said that? God has violent, even genocidal tendencies? Like, what is actually going on? If you've ever asked that question of the Bible, that's the right question to ask. Those are valid questions to ask. However, since I don't have time this morning in this 20-minute period that I've been given to work through all of the complicated passages in the Bible and reconcile and teach you how to interpret them faithfully and responsibly, I'll make a deal with you. Tomorrow, along with this sermon podcast, we will also drop a special footnotes episode. If you're new here to our church, we've been doing this through Lent, where we've been doing this footnotes conversation where it's 3 additional things that didn't make it into the sermon, but you might find helpful, you might find interesting, And I want to plug that episode that's dropping tomorrow, particularly for those of you for whom that's been a sticky point for you, that's been a tripping hazard for you when it comes to reading the Bible and trusting the Bible, because we're going to do a deep dive, okay? In the episode that drops tomorrow, we're going to do deep dive, and I'm going to give you tools to help you understand, how do I navigate those passages? Is it actually God commanding these types of things in the Bible, or is this the people's best shot, with the tools they have, their best attempts to interpret what God is saying in their very outdated, very obsolete, very sort of backwards context in which they are living in thousands of years ago, right? Okay? Especially if you're new here, I want to make sure that we always say that, because one of our values here at the Peak is we always want to read and interpret the Bible faithfully, and that means doing so contextually, with science, with reason, with biblical scholarship. And so, again, if that's a tripping point for you, totally valid, totally understand it. We're going to dig into it tomorrow morning. Deal? Good? Can I return to the story? Okay, coming back to the story. Okay, so this is the command that Saul hears, and Saul ignores it. He ignores it. After this battle, he keeps all the good stuff for himself. Keeps all the livestock, keeps the best sheep, keeps all this stuff all for himself. And when he's called out on this, so think of him as the king's spiritual advisor. He's the pope, the pastor of the group, right? When Samuel calls Saul out on this, Saul lies. And then he lies again. Then he lies again. Did you catch that little note where Samuel shows up and he's like, if you didn't keep it, what's all that? I'm hearing the daggum sheep. I'm hearing the cows mooing. I smelled them when I showed up to your camp. You lying. We all know you're lying. I can smell it in the air right now. He doubles down over and over and over again until finally we get to verse 24, where he finally caves. Verse 24, Saul says this. Okay, all right. I've sinned. I disobeyed the Lord's command. I disobeyed your instructions. But I was afraid. I was afraid of the troops, and I obeyed them instead. I got to be honest, I find that phrasing really fascinating. That the reason why Saul lies is why? He's afraid. What's he afraid of? He's afraid of what other people are going to think of him, what they're going to say of him, what they might do to him. He believes something that hasn't even happened yet, and that's what causes him to perform deceit. It's almost, another way to put it is, Saul is deceived, which leads to his deceiving of others. Put it simply, oftentimes we tell a lie because we first believed a lie about ourselves, about other people, about God even. I'll give you some examples. When I read this passage, and when I put myself in Saul's shoes, I can think of a number of different lies that might have been coursing through his system. First and foremost is that God won't provide. I gotta keep the best livestock for myself. I gotta keep this for me because I don't know if God's gonna provide. I don't know if God's gonna look after me. I don't know if God's gonna look out for my troops and my people. I don't know, and I don't trust it, and so I have to provide for my own needs. I have to take care of myself. I can't rely or depend on anyone else. Can I make a confession? I've believed that lie more times than I can count. And so I can tell you from firsthand experience how dangerous that lie is, because it's almost like a sickness. If you believe that lie is true, then what happens is, once it kind of gets into your system, it creates a certain belief. So if I believe the lie that God won't provide, then I will operate in the world with this very scarcity sort of kind of mindset. Well, there's not enough. There's not enough jobs to go around. There's not enough money to go around. There's not enough love and affection to go around. And so you see every single person as what? Your competitor, not your neighbor. Everyone's a competitor that I have to sort of move out of the way to make sure I get mine, I get taken care of. And so you can see, once that really begins to settle in, it produces sinful actions like greed, like selfishness. This is my family's whole entire relationship with Pringles. Serious. I can't get a single soul in my family to share their Pringles with me. And if you can't read that, this is my son's can. And if you can't read it from way back there in the back, it says, Ev only. And the bottom says, I am watching, he said. And we laugh, but there's probably some version of this that lives in us. There's probably certain relationships or situations or circumstances where we treat that resource and the people around it in a very similar way. God won't provide. That's a really strong candidate. Another candidate for a lie that might have been coursing through Saul's system is that God won't understand. God doesn't understand. I'm keeping these for myself because God has no idea what it's like to be king. No idea what it's like to live under the pressure of all these people's expectations and all the things that they're asking and demanding of me all the time. Mind you, 1 Samuel, this is the Old Testament. So this is before Jesus ever shows up. God has not become human yet. And so Saul is thinking, God has no idea what it's even like to be human. He has no idea what it's like to live this type of existence on this planet with these types of people. God won't understand, and so I'm not doing what God told me to do. You ever believed that lie before? Again, where it becomes dangerous is that sickness, that illness begins to, again, really seep into your system, and it creates this belief that God doesn't get it. God doesn't understand your circumstance. God can't empathize with your life. God can't even sympathize with what you have been through. So there is no point in talking to God, involving God, or even bothering God with your little problems, because God will have nothing for you. No wisdom, no help, no advice, no tips. So you can see this starts this sort of actions of, okay, I'm not going to trust other people. I'm not going to trust, I'm sure as heck not going to trust God. And if someone tries to tell me what to do, especially someone who I don't believe understands what I'm going through, I'm certainly not going to do. I'm not going to obey anything they have to say. This is especially prevalent in romantic relationships, right? How many of you have ever been in a relationship where, I was thinking about my own life, where prior to marrying Marie, I dated a couple of girls who, you know that part of the relationship where you're kind of like right on the edge of like, all right, I'm gonna start sharing some stuff. Like I'm gonna let them see some of the vulnerable parts of my story, the wounds, the scars that I'm carrying into this. You know that part of the relationship? I can remember 2 distinct times where I did this with people before I married Marie, who when I shared those things, the messaging back was something like, stop being so sensitive. Stop letting it impact you so much. You're too emotional about this. Some of you have heard that, haven't you, in relationships? And I'll be honest, it took me a long time to recover from that, because for a long time, I just started operating under this mindset, okay, no one understands. No one understands what it's like to have grown up in that family or to have experienced that thing way back in my childhood, and so I'm just going to lock all that stuff up, not tell nobody about it. That's a strong candidate. I'll give you 2 more. Another possibility is the reason why Saul lied that day is because he believed that God would not forgive. I like to believe that there was a moment in there where Saul was like, maybe I should just like fess up to all this. You know what I'm saying? Like the guilt of this is like really wrecking me, and like the regret, I don't really like it as much. Maybe I'll just fess up to it. Maybe I'll just own it and get on with it. And then it's almost like a tidal wave of shame rolled into his life, and the lies accompanying it overpowered him and said, you're gonna confess to this? You're gonna own up to this? No chance. You are not going to be forgiven. You are not going to be shown mercy or grace or compassion. All of that stuff that they talk about in church, that's for other people. That ain't for you. That ain't for what you did. Many of us are very familiar with that voice. And you know what comes next. You begin to believe, oh, I guess they're right. My mistakes, there's too many of them. They're too big. And so that grace thing was cool to hear about, but I guess it's not for me. which then leads you to a life of secrecy. I'm going to keep and hold all this stuff to myself. I'm not telling nobody about it. And despair. Will I ever find hope? Is there anywhere where grace exists? Maybe not. That same year, I was having a banner year apparently in college. I hurt my friend. Made a mistake, hurt my friend, and went to him. I apologized. I fessed up to it, took responsibility, took accountability, owned up to it. And this was the response I got. When I said, "Do you forgive me?" Sure. Now, as a brief aside, please, can we retire the word sure? I hate this word. Anytime and every time it's ever been said to me, I have no idea what you mean. Do you hate me now? Is that what that means? You know what it is? It's the verbal equivalent of that emoji. You ever found yourself in this predicament? You text somebody, you really open up about something. That's what they get? That's what you get? Some of you, like, that's my dad. Like, that's my dad. That's all I get from my dad. The most emotionally unavailable person. Just like, boop, there you go, right? It's the worst. It's the worst. You spiral. You spend the whole afternoon going, they either are on board with this plan or they want nothing to do with me for the rest of my life. That's where we are now, right? Sure is the equivalent of couldn't care less. And so this buddy gives me this word, and that's exactly what happens. For the weeks after that, did he really forgive me? Does he still like me? Does he want to still be friends? And to be honest, our friendship never recovered. Never recovered. And furthermore, additionally, when I made mistakes, shortly thereafter in other friendships, the thought crossed my mind of should I own it this time? Maybe I should just lie about it. I'll just pretend it didn't happen. Because I don't want that same thing to happen to me again. The last possibility I could think of is the reason why Saul kept all those goods and plunderings to himself is because he believed that fourth lie, that age-old lie, that God's holding out on me. This showed up in the garden, didn't it? God gave a rule, God gave a restriction, God gave a limitation, and what did humanity do? We said, bump that, I know better. You are trying to keep something from me. There's some goodness back there. Where is it? I want to see it. Like there's something good back there that you're not letting me have, that you're not letting me have access to. I don't trust you. You're keeping the fun. There's something back there. I want it. This one's deadly too. If you believe it long enough, what begins to happen is you form this belief that other people have it better than you. Everyone else has what you don't have, and you're the one missing out. Something is being kept from you. It's not fair. And so it breeds this jealousy and this entitlement, and it breeds this radical rebellion against any type of limitation in your life. And there is no people group that understands this better than parents. Parents of young children in particular. I have never, maybe today I will, I have never met a parent who told a child, this is the rule, this is the way it's going to be, this is how we're going to make it happen. I have never met a parent who said, I actually have children who, in response to that, skip to me and say, oh, Father, thank you so much. Thank you for this newfound limitation on my life. Thank you for restricting me from all of the things that I really want to do. I know it's in my best interest, Father. Thank you. Maybe today I'll meet that parent. Haven't met him yet. This is every night at 8:30. Every night at 8:30, we go to our children and we say, hey, kids need good night's rest. It's good for your health, good for your future, and those sorts of things. And every single time that I share with them that it is bedtime, it is as if I am sharing the most shocking, horrifying, earth-shattering news upon their tiny little brains. They look like that Paul Rudd meme every single time. You could give them the best day imaginable. You could take them out for ice cream for 3 straight meals. You tell them it's bedtime. You put one restriction in their life. Well, what good are you, Dad? this lie's been messing with us since day one. This spiritual FOMO has been an illness in our bones for a long time. And so here's how I want to close today. Band, I'm going to go ahead and invite you guys to come back up. While the band is doing that, I'm going to explain what we're going to do next. We're going to conclude our service a little bit differently than we normally do on Sunday mornings. We're going to give you a little bit of extra time, okay? A little bit of bonus time. Over the course of these next several moments, the worship team is going to lead in a couple songs, one that's just instrumental, and then one we'll stand and sing for. But during this time, what I want to give you, what I want to give all of us, is the space to really sit with this question: what is the lie that you've been believing in your life? Which of these 4 lies has had a stranglehold on you in some way, shape, or form? Which of these lies has been harming you, harming the relationships that you hold dear, harming your ability to even engage in faith or go deeper in your faith, right? And so here's how we're going to do that. Again, the worship team is going to give us the space we need. And I want you to do what you feel like is right for you. If you want to stay in your seat and you and God work some stuff out over the next several minutes, do it. If others of you need something a little bit more practical, a little bit more tactile, that here in the front, we're going to have 4 bowls. 4 bowls corresponding with each of the 4 lies that we talked about today. And inside each of these 4 bowls are prescription cards. Y'all remember what prescription cards are? Remember this? Now you don't have to worry about it. You got an app. They just send it to you. This is your illness. This is your sickness. And here's your treatment plan for how you're going to fix it, right? But we created inside these bowls little Lent prescriptions, if you will, corresponding with each of these lies. And so what you're going to find on these prescription cards are, first and foremost, you're going to find 3 gospel truths. I know what the deceiver, I know what the liar in your mind has been telling you. But what is God trying to say? What did God say on this topic? So there's going to be some truths there for you to read, to remind yourself of, maybe even to memorize, if you feel so bold. And additionally, on each of these prescription cards, there are also counteractions, exercises, disciplines that you can start this week to try to finally get a foothold on this battle you have had against this particular lie that's been crippling your life. So for example, this one's God won't understand. One of our counteractions is spend some time in nature. Pay attention to the intricacies of trees, streams, and wildlife. And as you think about your own situation, remember that God is omniscient. That there ain't no situation you've ever been through that God don't understand. That's just one example. And so these are going to be available to you. Worship team is going to lead us in a couple of songs. Come forward if you would like, when you would like. If you're watching this online or if you're listening to the podcast, if you go to thepeakchurch.org/RX, you'll find all of these prescription cards available to you. It's a little bit corny. I don't care. But whatever you decide to do over these next several moments, however you decide to utilize these next several moments, I'm begging you to take a chance on the one who said, once you know the truth will do what? Set you free.
Thank you for listening to the Peak Podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever podcasts can be found. For more information on how to get connected with our church, please visit us at thepeakchurch.org.